Hi, I'm Rachel Anthony, and I'm the author of my debut novel, A Time for Us. I just got this copy in the mail today, and I'm a little geeked out that I get to hold my book for the first time in my hands. So, a little bit about my book. It is a love story that is taking place in dual timelines. It deals with reincarnation, and the dual timelines are the 1980s and the 1940s. It is a story of forbidden love because it is with an interracial couple. In the 1980s, it is an African American waitress in a small town in North Carolina. Her name is Deborah Brown, and a stranger that walks into the diner where she works. His name is Paulie Giovanni, and there is an instant connection there. They feel like they know each other, and they try to figure out how, but determine that there is absolutely no way they could have ever met. But there is this unsettling feeling that they know each other that just won't go away. And that unsettling feeling leads Deborah to have dreams of a life that she and Paulie lived in the 1940s as Jeanette James, a colored seamstress in Harlem, and Mario Leonetti, a Italian mob boss in New York City's, one of New York City's crime families. So in the 1940s, their relationship is frowned upon, to put it mildly, by both of their families, by his organization, and but they persist. They are determined to live their lives and love each other. Let's just say it doesn't end well for them. So Deborah shares the details of her dream with Paulie, who confesses to her that he's been having visions, daydreams is what he thought, of a life that is very similar to the dreams Deborah had in her dreams. So they think that is way too bizarre for her dreams to be lining up with his visions. So they want to see if these people really existed. So they do a little research, and in doing this research, Deborah, who is married to a very possessive and insecure man and a mother of two daughters, puts her current life at risk to determine if she lived in the 1940s as Jeanette James. I'll leave it there to hope that you are intrigued, want to read more about that, learn what they discover and how they handle what they discover. So it's a very, I think, a very beautiful love story, and I am so excited that it's going to be officially published on January 27th, and it is on pre-order right now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and on my website, rachelanthonywrites.com. So in this video, I want to kind of tell you about my publishing journey a little bit, how I got my book published. I started this book back in 1987, which is where this book, the story begins. And I, jotted down ideas, picked the book up, put the book down for decades before I got really serious about writing and publishing it, which was about 5 years ago. So in that 5 years, I completed the manuscript. So not in that 5 years, but 5 years ago, I completed the manuscript, got it edited, went through several editing processes, and began putting it out to agents because I had the aspiration to be traditionally published. I had the aspiration to be signed by an agent, published by one of the big 5 publishers, seeing my book on the shelves at Barnes & Noble. But after submitting my queries to over 100 agents, I got no bites. No one was interested. So I had to decide if I wanted to let the book just go and languish on my own bookshelf, or if I wanted to get it published. And it was a no-brainer for me. I wanted to publish it. So that meant I had to go through the self-publishing route. I knew nothing about self-publishing, so I had to determine how, what that looked like. So I did a lot of research here on YouTube, as well as went to a lot of writing conferences and read articles and learned, what the self-publishing world looked like. And in that, I also determined that based on what I knew and all the things I didn't know, I didn't necessarily feel confident in self-publishing, doing all of the things that I would need to do to self-publish on my own. So I chose to go the route of hybrid publishing. And what that means is that I sought out a company that did all of the publishing activities like a traditional publisher would. The difference is that me as the author, I had to pay for those services, where in traditional publishing, the publisher pays for those services. They take the risk of, financing everything in the hopes that your book is going to sell and make them money. Me as the author, I'm taking that risk. I'm putting the money out there in the hopes that I can make a return on investment. To be perfectly honest with you, yes, I want to sell books, but it's less about making the money than it is getting the story in the hands of people that I hope will enjoy it as much as I enjoyed writing it. I love the story so much. I love the characters so much. And I just want people to read it and enjoy it. So with that, I decided that I would invest in myself. In over 30 years in corporate America, I've done a pretty good job of building a solid stock portfolio. And what I decided to do was sell some of my stock to invest in me and finance my self-publishing journey. So I did that. I made that decision, and then it was on to doing research to find a good hybrid publisher. And there is where the hard research came, because there's so many scammers out there. There's so many people that want to take your money, that want to take advantage of your vulnerability, that you want to get your book published, that you'll do anything that you can do, spend any amount of money that you have to get that done. So I wanted to make sure that the hybrid publisher I was going with was reputable, had good reviews, and in doing that, I, read reviews online. I looked for recommendations from different writing networks, specifically the Alliance of Independent Authors, of which I'm a member. They were a partner and high on the recommendation list. I'm not going to necessarily tell you the name of the publisher I went with, but I will share the pros and cons of my experience with them. I will also tell you that they were not my first choice. My first choice was a hybrid publisher that focused on women authors. However, because they had such a good reputation, they focused on women authors, they had such a huge backlog of projects that it would have been like a year and a half before they would have gotten around to publishing my book, and I didn't want to wait that long. So I ended up going with the publisher that I went with because of their reputation and the fact that they fit into my budget. So one of the things that I loved about doing the hybrid publishing, and I'm going to get into some pros and cons, and I'm going to look at my notes while I do that to make sure I don't miss anything. But the first pro is the a la carte services that they provided. So you can get as many or as few services as you wanted with them, and that meant that you get to pay as little or as much as you want based on the services that they provide. They offer packages that you can kind of combine different services and pay, one cost for the package. What I ended up going with them is to have them do the exterior and interior formatting, excuse me, of my book. Also, to have them, take care of all of the publishing tasks, working with Ingram Spark to do the print on demand, to do the ebook distribution, Ingram Spark and KDP on Amazon. They're doing all of that. They bought all the ISBNs for the book. So everything that I paid for was for them to do that work. What I excluded from my services from them is editing, because at the time that I was ready to self-publish, I had already gone through all of the editing tasks, so I already paid for that. Even though they offered those services, I didn't need them. The cover design, once I decided I was going to self-publish, I went on ahead and hired a cover designer to design the cover of my book. So I didn't need them to do a cover design for me. The other thing that I opted to not have them do for me is the audiobook. The audiobook was astronomically expensive, so I opted to do something else for my audiobook. But the fact that I can pick and choose the services was a definite pro there. The other big thing is, from self-publishing as a whole, is you as the author get to keep your royalties. Once you pay for all of the publishing costs and the distribution costs, what's left from your book sales is all yours. When you do traditional publishing, what's left from your book sales, you have to split with the publisher. Here, I split nothing with my publisher because I paid for their services up front. So they get no more money from me at this point. Once their services are done, everything after the printing fees and the distribution fees, all of that is all mine. So that's definitely a big pro there. You as the author own your copyright, whereas in traditional publishing, most of the time the publisher owns the copyright. You as the author own all the rights to your book, so you can license, sell movie rights, international rights. All of that is on you. You get to negotiate those rates. You do all of that on your own, and you don't have to split it with anyone. The other thing is that you have total control over most things in your book. So in traditional publishing, once you sign that contract with the publisher, you take a huge backseat as the author, and you everything that from branding, titling, cover design, all of that, distribution routes, all of that are decisions that are made by the publishing company. And you as the author, just kind of sit back. I'm sure there's some consultation that goes on there, but the publisher has the final word, where in the self-publishing world, you as the author have the final word there, and that's huge for me. I think that one of the biggest things for me as a pro, as a as a debut author, having not gone through this process before, I got to learn the publishing process from the inside by walking through the process with professionals. So I got to see what they did, how they did it, and that gave me a wealth of knowledge to determine what I could do on my own for future publishing to publish future books for myself. So that probably was the biggest pro of it all. Now to the cons. It's expensive. I know I said that you can, pick and choose how little or how many services you want from the company, but regardless of how few you choose, you're going to have to pay for it. Whenever you do something and outsource something to someone, you're paying for their services. And depending upon your budget, it can be expensive or sometimes just not even a possibility. But within self-publishing, there is so much that you can do on your own as the author that you don't have to come out of pocket for. And I can tell you that now, having gone through that experience and learned the ins and outs of it all, I'll be doing a lot more of this on my own. Another con, surprisingly, was there was a lack of collaboration. there were times when the project manager that I was assigned and the team of people that she worked with made decisions on my behalf without consulting me. In two cases there, the cover design that I had done, I actually wanted the infinity symbol incorporated into the design. My cover designer did not find a way to do that. To my liking, I would say. So I asked the publisher that I worked with if there was a way that they can incorporate the infinity symbol on the cover. You know, I was thinking probably the back cover. And they were like, absolutely, we can do that. There's, no pun intended, an infinite number of infinity signs you can use from a design perspective to add to the cover. They did not consult with me on what type of infinity symbol I wanted on the cover. They just chose the most basic one that they could find and slapped it on the cover and said, here you go. And I was like, no, that's not what I envisioned. So I ended up going on like Adobe stock and picking out a design that I liked. And I don't know if you can see it, but there is an infinity symbol on the back of my cover. And that's the design that I picked out. And the publisher ended up incorporating the back cover for me for a fee. The other thing was that once the interior formatting was completed, there are chapter headers, artwork for each chapter header. And I wasn't consulted at all about what design they would use for the chapter header. And I don't know where they got this design from, but it was an hourglass with some squiggly lines over it. It really looked like a child drew an hourglass and then squiggled over it. And they said, here you go, here's your formatted book. And I was like, no, I don't like it. So what I ended up doing is I went on Canva and designed my own cover art that I liked for my header, which is an hourglass with the infinity symbol incorporated into it. And they ended up using the artwork that I created for that. But those are things that I would have thought that they would have consulted with me, gave me options at least, to decide which one I liked better. They did not do that. They did not move at a pace that I was comfortable with. I felt like there were things that they could have done simultaneously, but they felt it necessary to wait until one thing was done before they started another. That I felt was a complete waste of time. And now that I'm on the other side of it and understand how things are done, I am validated in the point that they were not efficient and it was just a waste of time. There weren't a lot of I said that you as the author have control over many things. When you go with a hybrid publisher, you lose some of that control. For example, they own the ISBNs. They are not under my name. They said that I can use them anywhere I want it, like the books that I'm selling on my website, which I'm doing. So yes, I have the flexibility to use the ISBNs that they own. But when I went to go order my own author copies from Ingram Spark, I was told that that ISBN is already in use and I couldn't use it to order my own author copies. And I explained why I wanted to do that in a minute. And so I had to get another ISBN in order to upload my own version of my novel so I can order my own author copies at the print-on-demand price from Ingram Spark. The other thing is dates. The whole time I contracted with them, I kept asking for dates, the published date. When was our target published date? I was told that the whole process would take about 10 to 14 weeks. So they said you can kind of base your date around that. Very vague. And they said they were unable to give me a definitive date until we got through the interior formatting process. Okay. So once we got to the interior formatting process, I immediately assumed there would be a meeting to talk about publishing date. What happened was, once I approved the final interior format, like the next day I got an email saying your publish date is ... which was 2 weeks later. Blew my mind because I had a 6-week marketing plan, pre-launch marketing plan in place. So I was hoping that I would at least get a 6-week heads up. I didn't get that. So I had to kind of say, no, we're not publishing on that day. This is the date that we're publishing. So ultimately I had the control, but the fact that I wasn't consulted, it just blows my mind. Yeah, so the last thing that's the con is the nickel and diming you to death. So yes, there's the a la carte services that they have, and then the packages that they have. But whenever you go outside of that, you will be charged. I got charged for the addition to the cover design. I got charged when I asked for a large print version of the book. If I wanted to do author copies through the publisher, they were charging me twice the printing cost. So Ingram Spark would charge, let's just say $7 to print my book. They were going to charge me $14 for my author copies. I'm like, why? And when I asked why, they said it's our white glove service. If anything happens to your books during shipping, we'll just get them reprinted. I still can't understand that. They never touch the books. The books come directly from Ingram Spark to me. Where are you putting on your white gloves? Where are you touching my book? Why do you need double the printing price for me to get an author copy? Blew my mind, which is the reason I wanted to go to Ingram Spark directly to get my author copies. So that is that was my pros and cons for my traditional versus self-publishing hybrid publishing journey. Would I do it again? As a debut author, yes. I would absolutely take the same route that I took this time. Will I do it again for future books? Absolutely not. I know what I can do and what I can't do by myself. Most of it I can do by myself. The only thing I'm kind of on the bubble about is the formatting piece. There are formatting softwares out there that many self-publishing authors use, so I may kind of explore those a little bit and see if formatting is what I want to do. But overall, things that I won't do myself, editing, I'll always outsource that. Cover design, I will always outsource that. I will have a lot more say upfront about the cover design than I did this time. But yeah, I'll do that. I will outsource that. I will on the bubble about outsourcing formatting. Other than that, I'm doing the rest myself. It's all me. And I feel good about that decision. So that was a long story time about traditional versus self-publishing. I hope you take away some good tidbits there that you can use in your own publishing journey. Please, in the comments, ask me your questions. Let me know if you need additional details on any part of this. I'm happy to share. And also, please like, subscribe, share, and comment. And if A Time for Us sounds like something you would be interested in reading, I hope you are. Please, it is on pre-order right now at all your online retailers, also at my website, rachelanthonywrites.com. And it officially launches on January 27th. So I'll be back next week to share another tidbit about my writing and publishing journey. I hope you'll come back and share it with me.